It is that time of the week where a mindless guy who thinks he knows about the Championship, who predicts 12 fixtures about the Championship, and that's exactly what I'm going to do this weekend. We had a very dramatic week last week. We've seen a lot of derbies as well. And before we move on, congratulations to my lovely Colchester for making the quarterfinals of the League Cup. Fantastic performance against Crawley Town. As you know by now, the same rules apply in this video. I'm going to put every game in the description down below so that you can pause the video and leave as many score predictions as you like. I've not had the chance to shout out a channel yet, so hopefully this will be the weekend that I will be able to shout out a channel. Going to my predictions, I managed to get 2 of my predictions correct last week. That was the Preston and Blackburn game, which was almost a stroke of genius with Preston being 2-0 down. And I also got the Hull and Derby County game right. We've got 12 very exciting games going on this weekend, so without any further ado, let's hop into some of these games and start predicting. So we're going to start off with Friday's game, Barnsley versus Bristol City. Already you can almost feel that this will be a must-win game for Barnsley. Barnsley at the moment have not been in a good run of form, however their performances have not shied away from it. Against Huddersfield Town, they were ultimately really unlucky to not get at least a point in this game. Huddersfield took a really long time to get going, and Corley Rucho had 2 fantastic chances and probably should have scored both of them. With Bristol City, they managed to drop 2 points against Wigan at home. A game where I think they underestimated Wigan a little bit. Shea Dunkley managed to get a brace in that game. He's on fire at the moment, showing that he's trying to be the player for month of October as well as September as well. Bristol City ultimately fought well to get back into the game because they were 2-1 down at some stage, but you could feel that at home they should have had more control. I think Bristol City are going to have the majority of the ball, although Barnsley could pose a few problems for them. I do think Bristol City do have the capability to bounce back, and I think they will do so in a very narrow 2-1 away victory. I can see Barnsley having a lot of chances actually and playing quite positive stuff because lately they've actually played alright. They've just been a little bit sloppy defensively, and I think Bristol City will capitalise exactly on that. So I think the away side will get a 2-1 away victory. Next up to Saturday's games, the early one is Wigan versus Swansea. I actually think this might be closer than some people may suggest. Wigan got a fantastic away point against Bristol City. They played the game plan very, very well. They used their set pieces to score the 2 goals. However, they were very, very dangerous on them, and Bristol City couldn't keep them out defensively. Swansea managed to get a fantastic home win against Cardiff, their Welsh rivals, of course. Ben Millwall gained the only goal in the game. However, Matt Grimes having the performance of his life. He was terrific in midfield. And what I will say, when I released my Championship Captains video, this was before last weekend's games went. So the fact that Schindler scored for Huddersfield and Matt Grimes had almost the performance of his life really contradicted to what I said. I can anticipate quite a few goals in this game actually. I think Swansea away from home, they have struggled a tad, but they have shown encouraging signs against their local rivals. However, you'd feel maybe they just were really hyped up for their local rivals. They need to show that same intensity against Wigan. Wigan so far defensively have looked okay. They've looked better than last season defensively, that's for sure. However, what's really concerning me about Wigan at the moment is the lack of goals that they're scoring. Jamal Lowe has probably been their brightest spark, trying to score more frequently. He scored a couple 2 weeks back. But Shea Dunkley has done really, really well in defence to manage to knock home some set pieces. I do think that this game is going to be quite unpredictable, and I think it will be a 1-1 draw. There could even be more goals than that, but for me, I think Wigan may have a strong start, but Swansea will ultimately have their quality with Ayew, Selina, and get back into the game. So I think this will be a 1-1 draw. Now to 9 3 o'clock games. The first one, Blackburn versus Sheffield Wednesday. Blackburn at the moment are not in a good run at all. They've not won in over 5 games now. Sheffield Wednesday are the team in form at the moment. They had a terrific home performance against Leeds United, I felt, and probably with the chances should have won the game. Kiko Casilla had a man of the match winning performance in the Leeds goal, that's for sure. Blackburn against Preston, I mean, first half they were terrific. They really pegged Preston back. Sam Gallagher was literally bullying the whole Preston back line. It was his show, his masterclass, but Blackburn just ultimately switched off, and tactically Tony Mowbray couldn't deal with Preston in the second half, and there's already quite a bit of pressure put on Tony Mowbray, so I'd say this game is a must-win game for him. But they're facing a really tough test in the Sheffield Wednesday side that have looked really, really good. They play really well on the counter-attack, but they can also switch to play as well. Barry Bannon's looked good. Kadeem Houses looked good. Stephen Fletcher's looked good as well. And what a signing Junior Bourne's managed to be. Being on a free as well, he's put a real defensive shift. Ultimately, I think Blackburn are the sort of team that they'll start really well. However, Sheffield Wednesday are very, very patient, which you saw against Leeds because they were piled with a lot of Leeds' pressure. But ultimately, they'll catch them out in a counter-attack and they'll finish them off. I think Sheffield Wednesday are going to win by 2-1. Yeah, I think Blackburn will pose a bit of a difficult threat, especially being at Ewood Park because it's not easy to get stuff from there. However, I think Sheffield Wednesday do have more quality. They are the better team in form at the moment, in my eyes, with the better manager. I think Sheffield Wednesday will get a very narrow 2-1 away victory, but a very interesting game for sure. Next up is Brentford versus Huddersfield. Both of these teams are in miraculous form. Both of these teams were really slumping down the lower end of the table, but both have somehow captured their form. Brentford with a fantastic 3-1 away victory against their West London rivals, Queen's Park Rangers. They handled it really well. They handled it very professionally. They kept Eberechi Eze pretty quiet in that game. Ollie Watkins and Said Benrahma proved to be the difference in the end. Their second goal, whether it was a penalty, was questionable. However, they managed to finish Queen's Park Rangers off in the end and managed to hold the victory. With Huddersfield, they had a good victory against Barnsley. Even though they probably weren't at their best, they really were much improved, especially in the second half. You get more confidence watching Huddersfield Town now. They look like they've got a lot of better attacking threat going forward, so you can expect more from them now. But this is a really interesting matchup. Obviously, as I said, these are two teams banging form. And Huddersfield actually are the only team that were undefeated the whole of October, which is quite extraordinary. I do think Brentford, there's something really good happening at Brentford at the moment. They look like they can score plenty of goals, even though it may be against the run of play. And I think they may do the same at Griffin Park against Huddersfield. I think they'll get a 2-0 home victory. I'm still yet to be convinced if Huddersfield can have consistently good performances day in, day out, because I think back to against Middlesbrough where they really weren't all that great. So I think Brentford will show them up and get a 2-0 home victory. Next up is Cardiff versus Birmingham. Cardiff have been a side that's really difficult to predict, to be quite fair. They've had a really sticky patch of form. Birmingham have also had a pretty sticky patch of form. However, are getting wins a lot more consistently. They had a good victory against Luton Town where ultimately they should have scored more than 2 goals. They had chance after chance, and frankly they should not have given Luton a chance to get something from this game. Cardiff got a very poor performance against Swansea. They didn't really test Woodman all that much, and it was a game that was really played in the middle of the park. Not many chances came about, but when they did, Swansea made it count and Cardiff didn't. At home, I do think Cardiff are a completely different team. They are really difficult to break down at home. They're very well organised. Birmingham away from home have popped up with a few shocking away victories. However, in terms of quality-wise, they're not as strong as they were at home. I think Cardiff will bounce back and get a 1-0 home victory. I don't see many goals in this game. It could even be 0-0, but I think Cardiff will just slightly edge it and get a 1-goal home victory. A very intriguing game is Derby versus Middlesbrough, because these are two sides which I've not been very impressed with as of recently. Derby, to be fair, did have a 5-match unbeaten run, but that was ended very quickly. Middlesbrough have not looked terrible, but they've caught Huddersfield's curse. They cannot score any goals, and they really struggled. And against Fulham, you could argue that they did really well to get a home point against Fulham, because Fulham had chance after chance, and Middlesbrough barely tested Fulham, especially as their keeper got sent off very soon. This does have the potential ability for being a 0-0 draw, and that's exactly what I'm going to predict. I think this will be a 0-0 draw. These are two sides which I'm not too sure do have the quality to attack each other, but if one side were to win this game, it'd be huge for them. But for me, I think they're going to cancel each other out, and it's going to be a stalemate. Next up is Fulham versus Hull, two teams that do like to score plenty of goals. Fulham, I think, were quite disappointed against Middlesbrough. They had so many chances. I think defensively, Middlesbrough just weren't letting go. And with Hull, they had a fantastic home victory against Derby, especially keeping a clean sheet as well. I think they did really well to be very patient, because their goals did not come until the second half. Against Fulham, though, I think it's completely different, especially away from home as well. Fulham at home have looked really dangerous. I think the only thing that could really hurt Fulham if you play against them away from home, hitting them on the counter-attack. And Hull, I think, do have the capability to do that. It's just whether the likes of Grzycki, Bowen and Stewart are going to offer the pace to try and catch Fulham out. This is a really tough prediction for me, but I think Fulham will win by 2-0. I think Fulham at home are really comfortable, and I think they will be again against Hull. Despite the promise that they do have and the great quality of players that they do have, I think Fulham will be able to dispatch him pretty easily. So I'm going to say a 2-0 home victory to Fulham. Next up is Leeds versus Queen's Park Rangers. Now Leeds, you always know what you're going to get from Leeds. You're going to get a team that gets many chances, but you just have to question how many goals are they going to score. Against Queen's Park Rangers, though, they could have a chance because Queen's Park Rangers defensively have not been too convinced by it. It's a definite vulnerability in that side. Queen's Park Rangers, though, have fantastic individual quality that can win them games on their own. The likes of Eberechi. He could completely boss that midfield and set up a chance for Wells and Hugo. In fact, fun fact for you, Eberechi has actually completed the most dribbles so far in the Championship, so you know that he's working really hard. Leeds, on the other hand, played a stalemate against Sheffield Wednesday. They did have a lot of really good chances against Sheffield Wednesday, but at the same time they left themselves wide open and almost were lucky that Sheffield Wednesday didn't score either. It was two sides that ultimately wanted to attack each other, but both defences were too organised to let any goals go in. They're going to have that same mentality against Queen's Park Rangers because I think they will attack them, but it's just a question whether whoever is up top, whether it's Bamford or Nketiah, are going to go through the shaky Queen's Park Rangers defence because it's not impressed me so far. I think this game will be a very narrow 2-1 home victory to Leeds United, but it'll be a very tight game, certainly. Next up is Luton versus Nottingham Forest. Luton at home have been a little bit inconsistent. Nottingham Forest is going to be very difficult to predict because they were supposed to have a game against Reading last weekend. However, their game was postponed due to a waterlogged pitch, I believe. Nottingham Forest and Reading are going to be probably the two hardest sides to predict in this game. You should argue that they should be very well prepared in this game. Luton had a pretty disappointing performance against Birmingham. Apart from their one goal, they didn't really test Birmingham all that much. It seemed that Birmingham were always going to be the team to score the next goal. At home, they have looked better. I mean, their last home game, they completely smashed Bristol City by 3-0. I don't think this will be the same though. Even though Nottingham Forest have had 2 defeats on the bounce, I think this will be a 1-1 draw, but it will be very intriguing if any of the sides win. Penultimate game this weekend is Reading versus Millwall. As I said, with Nottingham Forest, Reading's going to be very difficult to predict this weekend because they should have had a game last week, but they didn't. Millwall had a terrific start under Gary Rowett, beating his old side Stoke City by 2-0, which was a fantastic performance by Millwall, I think. I think Millwall could be onto something really special with Gary Rowett. I truly believe that. I watched the highlights and Millwall looked really good. They looked really fresh under a new manager's ideas. Against Reading, no, I think they'll be tougher, especially away from home as well. You're really not sure how Gary Rowett's going to do with Millwall, setting them up away from home. Also with Mark Bone, Reading have shown a little bit of promise, even though he's not technically a manager. They had a fantastic away point against Queen's Park Rangers, and I think he'll set his team to try and get something against Millwall again. They may be the favourites in this game, however, I think this will be a 1-1 draw. I think Millwall will make themselves really tough to break down, and I think eventually by a set piece Millwall will score. But Reading, I think with the quality that they do have, they will not lose this game. But very interesting game. And the final game this weekend is the game I'm looking forward to the most. If I'm going to put a poll asking what game are you looking forward to the most, this is my game. Charlton versus Preston North End. 2 really high-flying sides. Charlton, the biggest overachievers so far this season, have shown a lot of great promise and have adapted fantastically well to the Championship. Preston have looked really different from their outlet from last season. At this time, they would have been at the bottom of the table. Now, they're second from top of the table. The transformation that Alex Neil has done in just over a year is quite frankly extraordinary. Charlton had a really good away point against West Brom, even though they probably should not have had an away point against West Brom in the first place, because for me, that their penalty was not a penalty in my opinion. But they had terrific chances against West Brom, and especially in the first half, I was surprised that West Brom managed to lead at half-time. Charlton showed guts to make sure that they were going to get some from this game, and the fact they've done that, it goes to show that Charlton are a very difficult side to beat. And at home as well, they look really tough as well. Preston have shown a little bit of vulnerability defensively. Sometimes they can switch off at set pieces. Also away from home, their last away game was a 1-0 defeat to Reading, where they didn't really test Reading all that much. And if they don't test Charlton, Charlton could completely run riot in this game. but you can't undermine Preston's quality with Tom Barkhuizen, Daniel Johnson, Sean Maguire, Patrick Bauer in defence. What a signing he has been, by the way. I think this will be a firecracker of a game, and I think Charlton are going to edge this one by 2-1. Charlton just seem to find a way to beat the sides around them, and I think they'll do the same there and get a 2-1 home victory against Preston, which for sure should get them in the playoffs places. And finally, for Monday Night Football, I almost forgot about this game, Stoke City versus West Brom. I think this is going to be really interesting. Obviously with Stoke, they had a pretty poor performance against Millwall. They didn't really test Millwall that much. I think almost the animosity towards Gary Rowell kind of took Stoke's players' minds off from the game a little bit. West Brom have not won in 2 games now. However, both games, you probably should have argued that they probably should have won the game. Charlton especially, West Brom were really unlucky that they didn't win. Stoke showed a lot of promise apart from that Millwall game, but apart from that, Stoke have improved, which is fair, which is a very fair statement to say. West Brom are obviously going to be the favourites, being first in the Championship at the moment. And Stoke showed vulnerability defensively, which they have done in a couple of games already. West Brom could completely run right over them. I don't think this will be the case. I think West Brom are now in a habit that I don't think that they'd want to be in, that they are playing well, but not necessarily finishing the job of getting 3 points. And as for that, I think this will be a 1-1 draw. I think this will be a draw. Whether it's 1-1 or 2-2, I'm not sure, but I'm going to say 1-1. But very, very intriguing game. But that'll wrap it up for my championship predictions there, if they are on the screen right now. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. Obviously, if you want to predict this weekend's fixtures, make sure you comment in the comments down below. And if you get any right, I will definitely shout out your channel. Hopefully, this will be the week that I do it for the first time. Obviously, if you like what you see and you want to see more content, please make sure you give a video a like. It is tremendously appreciative. Make sure you subscribe to see some regular content on the channel. Make sure you share to your friends as well. But there you have it, guys. This will wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, for match day 15, take care.